I was 75 years old the day my world collapsed. Though my bones felt older and my spirit felt younger. I had woken up that morning in my own bed. Sunlight slipping through the thin curtains like it always had, warming my face. I remember thinking it would be a quiet day. Tea on the porch, a little gardening if my knees cooperated, and maybe finishing the last chapter of the mystery novel I had been slowly savoring. I had no idea that before sunset, everything I owned, everything I built, and everything I trusted would be treated like a disposable burden. When my son Daniel called that morning saying he and his wife, Claire, were coming over, I felt a small flutter of joy. They rarely visited unless they needed something. I should have recognized that pattern earlier in my life, but a mother's love is stubborn. It sees the best even when the truth stands in plain daylight, waving its arms. They arrived just before noon. Daniel walked in first, wearing that rushed expression he always had, as if the world owed him its speed. Claire followed behind him, her lips tight and her eyes scanning my living room like an inspector looking for faults. She had always made me feel like a piece of mismatched furniture, tolerated, but never quite fitting in. "Mom, we need to talk," Daniel said, not even waiting for me to offer tea. My stomach tightened. In my experience, nothing good ever came after those 4 words. Claire sat down opposite me, legs crossed, hands folded neatly in her lap. I noticed she was wearing new jewelry. She sparkled like someone whose life was growing brighter. Mine, I would soon learn, was being dimmed. Daniel cleared his throat. "We've been thinking," he began, "and we've decided it's time for you to move into a nursing home." The words hit me like a blow to the chest. "A nursing home?" I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. "Daniel, I'm not bedridden. I live alone. I cook. I clean. Why would I need?" "It's safer," Claire interrupted. "You almost slipped on the porch last month, remember?" Ich zerrte her. Shocked. That was one misstep. Anyone could have slipped. She shrugged as if my explanation meant nothing. "We can't risk it. And honestly, you're getting older. You need constant supervision." Supervision. As if I were a child. As if I couldn't hear the insult buried under every word she spoke. I looked at Daniel, hoping for some sign of hesitation, some spark of affection, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. He didn't want a conversation. He wanted compliance. "We've already scheduled a room for you," he added. "You'll be staying there permanently." Permanently. The room tilted for a moment. I gripped the arm of my chair to steady myself. They weren't asking. They were informing me of my own exile. "When?" I asked. "Today," Claire said, standing up. "Pack a small bag. They provide the rest." They provide the rest, as if my home, my memories, my life could be replaced with a bed and a plastic dresser. They didn't even let me walk through my house one last time in peace. They stood in the doorway watching, impatient, while I packed a few clothes and my reading glasses. I touched the wall next to my bedroom door. The same wall where Daniel had once drawn on the paint as a boy. I had never scrubbed the faint mark off completely. I thought it was sentimental. Apparently, I was the only one who felt anything. The drive to the nursing home was silent. No music. No conversation. Just the hum of the car engine, and the sound of my heart cracking. When they dropped me off, Daniel kissed my cheek stiffly. Claire didn't bother with a goodbye. "You'll stay here forever," she said lightly, as if stating the weather. They turned and walked away. And for the first time in my life, I realized I was truly, devastatingly alone. The first night in the nursing home felt like being buried alive. The room was small. Too small for a life that had stretched across 75 years. The walls were painted a dull beige, the kind that did not hold memories, only silence. There were no pictures on the walls, no flowers on the windowsill, no scent of cinnamon from my kitchen. Just emptiness, sterile and cold. A nurse came in to introduce herself, her smile polite but mechanical. "If you need anything, just press the call button," she said, pointing to a faded plastic device attached to the bedrail. I nodded, though I knew I wouldn't use it. I wasn't sick. I wasn't weak. I wasn't done living. Yet my children had placed me here, as if I were a forgotten object they no longer had room for. That first week passed slowly. I watched residents shuffle through the halls, some pushing walkers, others pushing wheelchairs. Many stared at the floor as if searching for pieces of their past. Some murmured names only they remembered. A few had visitors, grandchildren bringing drawings, spouses holding trembling hands, but most sat alone. I never imagined I'd become one of them. During meals, the staff seated us at round tables. The food was soft, bland, designed for declining appetites and failing teeth. I ate quietly, listening to the others talk about their families, their old jobs, their health issues. I pretended to belong, but the truth stung like a needle. I didn't belong here at all. One afternoon, as I sat in the common room staring out the window, I heard my name. Mrs. Whitmore? A nurse approached me with a phone in her hand. Your family is calling. My stomach tightened. For a moment, I foolishly thought Daniel might apologize. Maybe they'd reconsider, miss me. Remember that I was more than a burden. I pressed the phone to my ear. I'm at the house, Claire's voice came through sharply. And I need to know where you kept the deed papers. We're starting renovations next week. The closet is full of junk, your old quilts, some photo albums, and that box of letters. Can I throw them out? I froze. My house. My quilts. My memories. Junk. I swallowed the ache rising in my chest. Please don't throw anything away, I whispered. Those letters are from your father. There. We don't need clutter, she cut in. Just tell me where the deed is. But I didn't answer. I couldn't. The betrayal was too sharp. My son had not even bothered to call. He let her speak for him, as if I were a stranger. She sighed impatiently. Fine. I'll look again. Then, in a voice she clearly didn't expect me to hear, she muttered, Old people have no idea what they own. The line went dead, but her words didn't leave me. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint hum of the heating vents. Her question, and her contempt, echoed in my mind. Date papers. Renovations. Their house. No, it wasn't their house. It was mine. Every shingle, every tile, every blade of grass had been earned by my hands and my husband's hands. I had cooked in that kitchen for decades, painted those walls myself, nursed my child through fevers in that bedroom. That home was my life woven into brick and wood, and they were planning to erase me from it. That was the moment something inside me hardened. A switch flipped. The helplessness evaporated, replaced with something sharp, something steady. Resolve. I got out of bed and walked to the small desk by the window. My hands trembled, not with age this time, but with purpose. I opened the drawer and pulled out the card I had hidden there the moment I arrived. The number of the only man I trusted. Samuel Carter. My lawyer. My old friend. I dialed. He answered on the first ring. Evelyn? Are you all right? No. Y whisperat. But I'm ready to be. The next day, a plain envelope arrived at the nursing home with his handwriting on the front. Inside were the papers that would change everything. Samuel had always been careful with his words, but this time his voice held a firmness I hadn't heard in years. Evelyn, he said over the phone the next morning. Your house is still entirely in your name. They have no legal right to touch it. If you want to make a move, the time is now. I sat on the edge of my narrow nursing home bed. The papers he sent spread across my lap. The crisp white sheets of legal text looked almost unreal in this gray, muted place. They were my lifeline. My proof that I wasn't as powerless as my children assumed. Are you sure we can do this from here? I asked. Absolutely. You sign. I'll handle the rest. My fingers traced the dotted lines. My whole life I had avoided revenge. I taught Daniel not to lie, not to steal, not to hurt others for gain. I practiced forgiveness more than any church sermon ever asked me to. But this wasn't revenge for the sake of cruelty. This was justice. This was reclaiming what they tried to steal from me. As I held the pen, a flood of memories washed over me. Painting the nursery walls when Daniel was born, planting roses in the backyard, baking pies in the kitchen every Thanksgiving. My home wasn't just a building. It was the story of my life. And they had thrown me out of it like a bag of unwanted clothes. I signed the first document, my name curving across the page with more strength than I felt. Then another. And another. My hands were steady. My breathing slow. For the first time since they left me at the nursing home, I felt control returning to me. quiet, powerful, and righteous. When the final signature was done, I sealed the envelope and handed it to the morning nurse with a polite smile. "This needs to go out today," I said. She nodded, unaware that she was holding the beginning of an earthquake, one that would soon shake the foundation of my children's comfortable little world. The next 3 days passed like waiting for a storm. Outside my window, leaves drifted from the trees, gold and brown, swirling in the autumn breeze. I watched them fall and realized something. Letting go doesn't always mean losing. Some things fall so new things can grow. On the 4th day, Samuel called. "It's done," he said. "The house is sold. Full cash offer. The new owners want possession immediately." I felt a deep breath rush out of me, almost like relief, almost like triumph. "Thank you," I whispered. "You don't owe me thanks." His voice softened. "You deserve better, Evelyn." At that very moment, across town, my children were probably sitting in my living room, feet on my coffee table, eating food from my pantry, completely unaware that the floor beneath them legally belonged to strangers now. I imagined Claire flipping through furniture catalogs, planning color schemes and kitchen renovations, bragging to her friends about their house. I imagined Daniel mowing the lawn proudly, believing it was his legacy. They had built their future on a foundation they stole. And now the ground was gone. The next morning, I received a call from Samuel again. This time, amusement coloring his tone. "They're there," he said. "Who's there?" "The new owners. At the house. Your son and daughter-in-law seem surprised." Surprised. I could picture the scene perfectly. A knock at the door. A confident Claire opening it, expecting a package. 2 strangers standing on the porch holding documents. She skimming the pages, her smile fading, confusion turning to shock. Daniel rushing over. Reading. Rereading. Trying to understand how the house, the home he thought he had secured, had been sold beneath his feet. I didn't need to see their faces to know the truth. For the first time in years, they were the powerless ones. For the first time in years, I held the final word. And my signature, quiet, steady, deliberate, had spoken louder than any argument ever could. The first call came at dawn. I had just sipped my morning tea when the phone on my bedside table buzzed violently, as if it carried the panic of the person on the other end. I didn't answer. The second call came a minute later. Then a third. By the 7th attempt, I finally picked up, more out of curiosity than obligation. "Mom. Mom, what did you do?" Daniel's voice cracked with disbelief. "These people, these strangers, are in our house saying they bought it. They're telling us to leave. What's going on?" For a moment, I simply listened to him breathe hard, the way he used to when he panicked as a little boy afraid of thunderstorms. Only this time, the storm was of his own making. "It's not your house," I said softly. "It never was." There was silence. Not the kind that waits for comfort, but the kind that crushes pride. Then Claire grabbed the phone. I could practically feel her shaking. "You can't do this. Are you insane? We moved in. We planned renovations. We spent money. And that," I replied calmly, "was your choice. You need to fix this," she snapped. "Call the buyers. Tell them you made a mistake." I smiled, not out of cruelty but clarity. "The only mistake here was yours." I ended the call. For the first time since they abandoned me at the nursing home, I felt the weight of their decisions slide off my shoulders like an old coat I had carried too long. I inhaled deeply. The air felt lighter. 2 days later, after the dust settled and the new owners took full possession of the house, Samuel visited me at the nursing home. He was holding a folder, his eyes warm with kindness. "Everything's processed," he said. "Payment transferred. You're a wealthy woman again, Evelyn. You don't need to stay here." I blinked back tears. "I didn't want wealth," I whispered. "I just wanted my dignity." "And now," he replied, "you have both." The nursing home director helped me pack. It didn't take long, just a small suitcase filled with clothes, my reading glasses, and a few photos I had kept hidden in a drawer. I looked around the room one last time, feeling no sadness. This place had been my cage, not my home. A car waited outside for me. Not Daniel. Not Claire. Samuel. He helped me into the passenger seat and drove me out of that parking lot. Out of that chapter. out of the shadow they had forced me into. We didn't go far, just an hour away, to a charming senior apartment complex overlooking the sea. The moment we pulled in, I could smell salt in the air and hear waves breaking against the shore. The building was bright, clean, alive. People sat outside chatting, reading, knitting, living. I felt something stir inside me. Hope. My apartment was small but lovely. White curtains dancing in the breeze, a soft armchair by the window, and a view of the ocean that made my heart swell. "This is yours now," Samuel said, handing me the keys. Mine. A place I chose. A life I chose. A future I chose. I pressed the keys to my chest. "Thank you," I whispered, though the words hardly captured what I felt. That evening, as the sun dipped into the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and gold, I sat on my balcony wrapped in a blanket. The sea murmured below, peaceful and steady, a reminder that even after the fiercest betrayal, life could be calming again. My phone buzzed once more. I didn't pick up. Some endings don't require final conversations. I closed my eyes and let the cool breeze kiss my skin. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not because I had punished them, but because I had reclaimed myself. Betrayal had pushed me into darkness. Revenge had pulled me out. But freedom was the real victory. And at 75 years old, I was finally living on my own terms.